Okay, I want to talk to you about letting go of guilt when you get sober. Now, guilt and shame are very, very common emotions. They're very unpleasant. None of us want to feel them. And we may have lots of feelings of guilt and shame when we stop drinking because of how we have behaved, things we have done, things we have not done that we should have done. And when we don't have the anesthetic of alcohol around anymore, those feelings are going to come up. And I'm going to talk about what we can do about that and how we can move through that process. So if you've had those feelings come up, this is the video for you. Please make sure you are subscribing. Hit the button, liking, sharing. And if you want to dive deeper into how I work, there is a program linked below that will help you deal with a lot of this stuff. Okay. So guilt and shame are emotions that are programmed into us. I did a video on fear that you might want to check out. Fear, shame, they're programmed into our DNA. We need them for our survival. Back in the day, right, if you were in a tribe and you collected lots of supplies to get through the winter, but you ate more than your fair share and the rest of the tribe was very angry with you, you would feel feelings of shame, right? Well, the reason that we have them is they help us fit into groups. It's all about fitting into a group and being part of a group and community and what the norms are in that group and community. And if we break those norms or contracts, social contracts or commitments, we will feel guilt and shame. So it's about cohesion because we need people. We need to be in groups of people. So that's why it's programmed into our DNA. We have to manage it. We have to process it. We have to release it. We don't want to feel it, right? I don't like feeling guilt and shame. It's very unpleasant. So when you stop drinking, we use alcohol as an anesthetic, right? We use alcohol to get rid of to any unpleasant feelings. Alcohol solves that. So we stop drinking. And then all these feelings that we've been pushing down for so long in our storage container, right? Pushing them down in our storage container. Don't want to deal with it. Don't want to feel with it. That kind of stuff, they come out, right? And we don't have our anesthetic. So we don't want to drink, but we have really difficult, uncomfortable feelings. What do we do with that? So here's what we're going to do. I want you to really understand this part. This part's really important. We were not bad people when we were drinking. We were very, very unwell. And when we are emotionally unwell, we do things that are out of alignment with our values. So back in the day when I was drinking, and I've talked about this on the podcast, I stole, I lied, I manipulated, I cheated. I behaved in ways that are really out of alignment with my values. I do not do those things today. Those things would be abhorrent to me. But when I was drinking, I was also very able to lie to myself. I was able to delude myself, right? Even when we're doing that behavior, we can, and this is true of everybody, when we behave badly, we are able to rationalize that to ourselves. So it's not quite as bad, or like there's a rational excuse in our brain, right? When we do that stuff, we have to make it, we have to reconcile it with ourselves. So we're able to do that. So we don't feel the feelings of guilt and shame, like, oh, whatever, like we'll just tell ourselves a story to just minimize that guilt and shame, justify that it's not that bad, it's not a big deal, whatever. So we have not, it's really important this is the difference between guilt and shame, right? Shame is that the story I don't want you to tell yourself is that you are intrinsically bad or rotten or faulty, right? We're capable of behaving in ways that are bad, upsetting for other people, manipulative, all of that kind of stuff. But it's different from who we are, okay? But here's the thing, right? This is all a process. This is we do this square and then we do this square and then we do this square. This is not all going to be like one day. You have to allow yourself to go through the process. Now, I want you to just think on that you have been really emotionally unwell. And when you are really emotionally unwell, we behave badly. I behave badly when I'm really emotionally well, out of alignment with my values. So sobriety is about the journey back to yourself. We have to get back in alignment with our values. And we can't do it. We have to stop drinking, right? We can't do or deal with any of this if we're still drinking. So we're going to have to bite the bullet, stop drinking, support ourselves as much as we can, because all of these very difficult feelings are going to come up, and we want to navigate through them to a place where we can feel better. Now, I want you to hear this, because this is really important. We can behave badly, right? We can do things that hurt other people, that impact other people's lives. It's not that we shouldn't have consequences. I'm not saying like, oh, that person, they're not a bad person. They just were emotionally unwell. So when they did that stuff to you, whatever it was, they're just emotionally unwell. So cut them some slack and feel sorry for them. That is not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying here is there are consequences to our actions, and we have to accept that. And there needs to be consequences, right? This is the best way I know to deal with those feelings, and to be able to deal with the consequences, deal with the guilt and shame. The best way to deal with it is repair work, or amends in AA speak. We have to take responsibility for cleaning up our side of the street. That's the bottom line. You need to take responsibility to clean up your side of the street. It's not enough to say to anyone else, like, I'm not a bad person, I was emotionally unwell, I'm better now, I won't do that again, right? It's not enough in a lot of circumstances. We're going to need to go and have a conversation. We're going to have to maybe say we're sorry. We're going to have to repay money. We're going to have to, there could be a bunch of different things that we need to do. And then there might be some things that we can't make better, or do the repair work. But what we want to do is just be willing, right? Willing to get our side of the street as clean as possible. That is the number one thing that is going to relieve your feelings of guilt and shame, right? And again, it's not enough to just go and do a garbled apology to someone. What needs to happen is we need to change our behavior, right? We need to change it. It's not enough to go and beg forgiveness and have someone say, oh, I accept your apology. From that moment on, you need to change your behavior and how you show up in the world. We can do better. Now, we can't fix everything overnight, except that, when I got sober, there's some things that I'd done that, I was deeply ashamed of, because they're very out of character. And I owed some money, and I didn't have the money. I couldn't pay it back in one go. And I made monthly installments, and I did that for about 3 years until it was paid off. Because I'd love to have gone like, here's all the money. Like, I'm so sorry, I couldn't, but I had to do something. And I didn't have much money at the time. I think I paid maybe $20 a month, whatever it was. Like, I had to do that, because it began, like, that was the repair work I was capable of doing at that time. So it's repair work that you are capable of at this moment. And I would caution you to not rush into doing this on like day 8 of sobriety. When I say that everything is a process, everything really is a process. So process work is one of the 5 pillars of sobriety: movement, connection, balance, process, growth. Process is, I want to explain it. A process is like, it has like a beginning, a middle, and an end, and then another process starts, right? So it might be like, part of the process might be, first of all, get the hell sober, right? When you've got a bit of sobriety under your belt, and you've got these uncomfortable feelings, right? They kind of knock at the door, don't they? They just don't leave you alone, and it bugs you. Then it might be probably with somebody else's help. It could be anyone, sponsor, therapist, friend, priest, whatever works for you, is to kind of maybe make a list of things that just don't sit right with you anymore, that you want to try taking care of, right? Just try and list everything you can. And then ask yourself the question is like, how can I repair this? Do I need to go and apologize? Do I need to go and fix my neighbor's fence? Do I need to pay back some money? What is it I need to do? And just start doing those things slowly but steadily, right? And the way you do it, like, we want to protect other people. We don't want to cause more harm, all of that kind of stuff. We want to just do this kind of gradually. And this is so powerful. I've done it. I've done it multiple times. It is so powerful in realizing multiple things. Like, I was not a bad person. I was really unwell. I really need to take responsibility for my actions. I really, really don't want to feel like this again. So I'm not going to lie anymore. I'm not going to do whatever this behavior is. Like I really genuinely do not want to behave that way anymore. So I'm going to stop behaving that way. And how important relationships are in our life. Like why this work is so important. And you might have some relationships that you can't fix or mend, and that's okay as long as you've made your best effort to clean up your side of the street. But what you will find is, because this is a spiritual act. Doing repair work is a spiritual act. It's cleansing, and it's real, and it's vulnerable. And doing that takes your relationships to a completely different place. And that's the gift of this. Is the gift is having a clear conscience. We just can't live with all, like, those repetitive thoughts. That's your conscience going, you were an arsehole when you did that, or So having a clear conscience and clearing up your side of the street is the greatest gift of sobriety. It feels like freedom. It's freedom. That's what it feels like. And I really think that you can't stay sober unless you have a really, really good look at yourself, at your behavior and your past. It's not enough to just stop drinking and be like, oh, well, I'm just different now. It's just not enough. And again, this is deeply spiritual work. This is in all religions and spiritual traditions, is this kind of self-assessment, this self-evaluation, having a really good look at ourselves and making those changes. And that's how you're going to get rid of the guilt and shame. And like, I just want to say, like, for instance, if you're a parent, like, repairing your relationship with your children takes time. Significant relationships, it's not just kids, it can be partners, your parents, best friends. It takes time. People need to see that you have changed. So give them time to catch up to where you are, so they can see that you are sincere, that it's not just like a, dramatic statement. Like, avoid the big gestures, right? People don't want big dramatic gestures. They honestly, the people who love you, they just want to see that you're okay. The people who love you want to see that you're okay and that you've changed. That is enough for them, but it's going to take them a little bit of time. So don't worry if they're still a bit like cautious or a bit like, oh, I don't know yet. They just might need a bit more time to get there. If you have any suggestions to offer anyone, please put them in the comments below, and I hope this helps on your journey.